Hello, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler.
You forgot who I was?
Edition. Yeah, I did have to think about that for a minute.
Yeah, I've never been 12-0 before.
I had a lot of concussions in my career. So
I thought you was born with one.
Yeah, well, some will say that. So here we are, 12-0.
Yeah.
Ho-hum.
You're not surprised, though, are you?
I picked the Giants. I did on Sunday.
Why would you do that?
I thought that was a game that, and it turned out it's a game they could have lost. They
could have lost all of them. But
yeah, but I thought that was going to be their toughest game of the year. I really did.
And it was a tough game. Yeah. It was a tough game, but I didn't pick the Giants.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, I picked them to cover, so at least they covered. Anyway, let's move on. So with that victory and the Lions lost, Packers have clinched their division.
Yeah, ho-hum.
They're 2 games. Well, that is interesting, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Yeah. But they're 2 games ahead of San Francisco. I asked McCarthy they weren't able to celebrate their division title after the game because they didn't know until Detroit lost later at the night that they had clinched. So I asked McCarthy, in some way, do you kind of wish you could have been able to at least just celebrate the division?
Yep.
And he was like, I don't mean to be flip, but no, we got bigger fish to fry than the division title. He was almost like, division title, so what do you think about that kind of philosophy? I think winning a division is a tough thing to do.
Well, it's the old conversation we have about the Badgers. What's your goal? To go to the Rose Bowl every year, or does it be in a BCS championship game? So I think the Badger Nation are okay with Rose Bowls, and I'm okay with that as well. But with the Green Bay Packers, it's about championships. So along the way, do you break out the hats and T-shirts for a division title? No.
No?
Because we didn't win it last year. Chicago won it.
Right. It's been 4 years since they've won a division.
Right, and I thought it would be a bigger deal maybe this time. But it just seems like they're on such a fast pace. I get where McCarthy is coming from. He has his team looking at the big picture. And I think a lot of people think the big picture would be 16-0. But with McCarthy, it's a bigger picture.
Yeah,
home field throughout. And winning a Super Bowl, not just getting there. And he understands, too, if I get it there, once again, I'm on a fast track in Indianapolis.
Right.
I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I love that. It's in Indianapolis. Nobody can stop my offense. So we're going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I just got to get my team there. But let's not lose sight of the fact that we did not win the division last year. And let's be proud of these accomplishments. Don't be so, I don't know if arrogant is the word, but don't be so, well, maybe arrogance is the word, to say that we don't value winning the division.
Yeah, that was kind of my question.
Yeah.
And, they're going to get their when they come back to work on Wednesday, they'll have these T-shirts in their lockers. So that's about all they're going to get.
And it could be a better value if Chicago makes the playoffs and Detroit. Then you won a division with 3 teams in the playoffs. That does have value.
Okay. And we'll talk a little bit later about how to approach these last 4 games. But let's talk about a couple of things first, and about the game on Sunday. There's been a little bit of criticism about Jermichael Finley, and he had 3 drops in that game. But he also had 6 catches.
Yep.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about what you think his impact on the offense is.
Well, I'll tell you this. He could be a #1 target on any team in the NFL. And I know a lot of people like to think that the kid down in New Orleans has maybe Jimmy Graham has went past him, but Jimmy Graham gets targeted way more. It's just like if you play any team that plays cover 2, because I guess they feel like that's the recipe to stop this offense. Jermichael Finley is a bad cover for any defense. This guy is more valuable, He may be more valuable than any wide receiver that we have. That's the reason why he's in Sports Illustrated with these guys. So I just think that paying him can become an issue. But to me, when you have a guy that's been here and he's developed into this type of player, you have to keep him, because that's what makes this whole machine runs. when he's got double coverage, and now Jordy Nelson is with the team's third cornerback, or James Jones one-on-one with no help. Right. So it just helps. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Butler, why would they spend the money on him if they won a Super Bowl without him? And to me, it just, you got to keep things moving. Because when Jermichael Finley out, you had to move Jennings on the inside. Now he was just killing Pittsburgh down the middle. But now you can let Jennings do his normal thing and keep Jermichael Finley. And people say, what about blocking? That's why Crabtree's on the roster. That's why they keep 5 tight ends. So with that being said, I think he could be one of the top 3 most valuable people on this team, and I value that.
And, you know, and it's not to denigrate what Jordy Nelson has
No,
done.
absolutely
I mean, he made
not.
some phenomenal catches in that game.
Yeah.
But he's getting that opportunity because teams feel they've got to play a safety over the top of Jennings and a safety over the top of Finley.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the reason why Jordy Nelson is going to be a true number 2 moving forward, because anytime he's man-to-man coverage, you get him the ball. The guy absolutely never drops passes. He's 6'3". He outruns everybody. And he understands where he's supposed to be in this offense. And I love that. But think about this. In the 2 minute with 58 seconds left, Rodgers could have called numerous of plays. The first ball, go to Jermichael Finley. And it's only where Jermichael Finley can get a beautiful throw by Aaron Rodgers. So I just want people not to lose sight of, sometimes he has 1 catch, sometimes he has 6. And he's going to get 2 to 3 drops. Well, guess what? Jennings had a couple drops. So dropping balls, remember a couple years ago we had a problem with it? They dropped a lot of balls. But for the most part, they led the league in yards after a catch. So I'm okay with that.
Okay. Let's talk about sort of a sore spot in the defense. You know, once again, they get 450 yards. And I know there's one play that's, you know, really bugging you a lot. You know, just, it's really a sore spot. And that's post route, and we're going to show it in the X's and O's.
Yeah, stay tuned
we'll
for
break
that.
it down, but it involves Tramon Williams, and he's not having the season he had a year ago, is he?
Well, I think the reason why, I mean, when he was injured with his shoulder, but for the most part, it seems to me he's trying to do too much. And I don't know if he's watching Woodson, but Tramon, to me, is a bump and run corner. When he's playing off 7, 8, or 9 yards, he's more vulnerable to double moves and susceptible to post routes and things of that nature. So to me, you know, and he's a gambler. He wants to intercept the ball. And I think the coaches is almost like a, you know, risk reward with the whole secondary. We don't mind giving up the 51-yarders and the 47-yarders because sooner or later we're going to get a pick 6 like Matthews. So I think they're okay with it for the most part, because I haven't seen any improvement from these deep passes from San Diego.
But we talked about that. Isn't it so that you can only have one guy gambling in the second half?
Only one.
And Woodson's your guy. I'm sorry, but that's going to be your guy. You're never going to teach him not to gamble. And so maybe Tramon Williams has to play with less risk.
I agree with you. I think he has to play the integrity of the defense. When he's playing on top of his game, he is one of the top corners. But he has to be Mr. Reliable. Just put that in your head, Mr. Reliable. Because think about it, he's been getting a lot of targets. And for the most part, you're either going to have a great game or a bad game. But I like, the reason why I love him is he owns up to it. He says, it's my responsibility to play better. A lot of cornerbacks, they duck from that, Tom. And I like this whole secondary. They step up and say, it's my fault. And you would think that it would get better. So you would think the coaches, right, because the coaches and them got to get on the same page. Because like I said, if you were watching this after San Diego, when they had so many wide open guys, I promised the audience it would not get any worse. Sunday, kind of questioned that.
There seems to be some disconnect between, and this might be because of Nick Collins being gone. Tramon Williams, I think, felt really comfortable with Nick Collins. He knew where he was going to be, when he was going to be there, when he had his back, when he didn't. And there seems to be a little bit of disconnect between Tramon and the 2 safeties, Burnett and Charlie.
You bring up a beautiful point. The point is this: if Morgan Burnett and Charlie Pepper, whoever has the deep middle, Tom, you never leave the deep middle. It's almost like a pilot. You don't leave your wingman. I mean, we all saw Top Gun. And you notice the fact that if you stay with the program, okay, I stay with my wingman, I protect him, he gets more aggressive. But, you know, in the first play, the long pass to Beckham, you know, Morgan Burnett left the middle because Manning looked him off. You have to stay in the middle. If you stay in the middle, now this throw to Beckham over Charlie Pepper is not such an easy throw.
Right.
Because if you remember that play, Manning bobbled the ball.
Right, yeah.
And, I mean, Morgan Burnett just took off. He had to stay in a smooth back pedal, be deepest to deepest. Now he can help all three defensive backs, not just one.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, Nick Collins could get away with some of that because of his speed.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
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 But he was also, I think, smarter, more experienced player.
So I think it's a combination of coaching points. I think it's a combination of gambling.
Yeah.
I think it's also a combination of fatigue is starting to set in.
Okay, and quickly, do you think, what impact do you think not having Bishop and Hawk was? You had DJ Smith and Robert Francois. Can you put any bit on that, or do you think those two guys, two young guys?
Well, they don't play the run
okay.
very well. They're not stout enough, but they're fast. They got good instincts, and they're rangy. But we're going to show an X and O's. Maybe by one of these DJ Smith being out a little distorted in the coverages, it opens up another zone. Okay. And you try not for that to happen. I was watching the game with George Kuntz, and we talked about how you relate from receivers if you're a linebacker. It's tough. You have to take a play fake. Now you have to find out where your spot is. Right. But if you've never done it a whole lot, you know, now you got to do it a lot because you're starting. Notice when these guys play, Tom, they play what, 12, 13 plays total with special teams. Yeah. Now they got to play 58 plays. Right. So it is a difference, but they have to keep learning to understand the integrity of the defense.
Okay, and finally, you know, we'll get into this more as the season goes on, but 4 games left. Do you keep the pedal on the metal the whole way, or do you, guys like James Starks a little banged up, do you rest them? Do you what are you doing?
You find you some duct tape, okay, and you put your foot on the gas and you duct tape it on that gas. You never take it off. Okay. Now, when you get to game 14, if you're 14-0, you play the last 2 games, Tom, like a third preseason game. I'll play my starters into the third quarter. If you have
home field advantage.
If you have home field, right. So assuming they will. You play like a third preseason game. You have your starters play into the third quarter. Let's see where we are. If it's a good, tough game, I'll leave them in there. If we're getting beat, I pull my guys out. Or if we're blowing the other team out, which probably will happen with Chicago at least, then you start to rest your guys. Because remember, they will have home field, so they do have a bye week there to rest anyway.
Well, we'll get into all of that as the time goes on, including 16-0 if that comes up. You know, starting with the Raiders, they got 4 to go. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and this was brought to you by Cynics Ballester, owned and operated, and WJ Coonan Automotive in Oak Creek. Stay tuned for Exit and O. It'll be our best one yet. It'll be so much information. Don't miss it.
Absolutely.